DECA members and special guests tuning in tonight for another DECA Inc. Google Hangout. My name is Morgan Thompson, your National President for DECA, and I'll be hosting tonight's Hangout. Our topic for tonight's Hangout is social media, which can be a pretty broad topic, so we've brought some great panelists in tonight to break it down for us. Our first panelist tonight is Holly Norris. She is the state reporter for Texas DECA, and she was awarded the first social media correspondent program position this year. She won the position at the Emerging Leader Summit in Los Angeles, and she will be talking about being a part of the social media correspondent team for DECA. Our next panelist is MADDY Schiller from Minnesota DECA. She will be sharing with you how competitive events will be incorporated through social media and how you can use social media to win over your judges. Next, we have Jerry Zhang from Canada. He is a public relations officer for DECA Ontario. And if you've been paying much attention to social media, you'll be able to see that DECA Ontario is making a lot of noise. And tonight, Jerry will be sharing with us some of the really cool things that they have implemented and how social media has been a huge part of their year. Our next panelist is kind of a DECA celebrity, Appleton East Chapter Advisor Keegan O'Brien. Mr. O'Brien will be sharing with us some of the strategies of how you can engage and keep up consistent social media for your chapter and the benefits that come along with it. Next, we will have Victoria Kanya, who is the Western Region Vice President on my officer team. She'll be joining us in just a little bit, and she'll be sharing with us some of the social media she's learned throughout the years. After that, we have Jonathan Block, who is our real social media expert tonight. Jonathan is the Vice President of Flyman Hillard. Sorry, can you say that for me? Where he helped large companies communicate to their own employees. Before he started there, he worked in the corporate culture consulting, where he led communication and culture change at a $14 billion arm of the U.S. military. Mr. Block's career began in Washington, D.C. as a presidential appointee to the public affairs at the U.S. Department of Justice. Later in his career, he was the assistant press secretary to Laura Bush, where he helped the first ever First Lady write a blog and post a video to YouTube. And tonight, he will be sharing with us how to use social media to your benefit and drive audience engagement. And our final panelist tonight is DECA's newest social media employee, Janelle Scudder. She's a part of the communication team at DECA and is going to be sharing all the new things in store for DECA's social media and at ICDC. So throughout this Hangout, we want to hear all about what you have questions on for social media. We want you to tweet us at DECA Inc. so we can share your questions live at the end of the Hangout. So to kick off our Hangout tonight, we're going to start with Holly.
Hi everyone. Like Morgan said, I'm the state reporter for Texas DECA and the first social media correspondent. First off, a little bit about the DECA Direct social media correspondent team. Basically, the DECA Direct social media correspondents consist of students, advisors, business partners, and alumni who are passionate about DECA and want to share their knowledge and expertise and experiences with other people. The way I got chosen was at the Emerging Leader Summit. We kind of had a little bit of competition amongst all of the officers present and all of the members present, and I got chosen by, I guess, the National Officer Team and some people at National DECA to be the first social media correspondent. So it was a pretty amazing opportunity. The social media correspondents, what our job is to write articles and features for DECA Direct, the online publication that DECA came out with this year, as well as getting a chance to be featured in the DECA Direct monthly publication, which is distributed to every paying DECA member. So it's a pretty good opportunity to get your writing out to the world and to be able to share your experience with other members. Some of my favorite things that I've read about is the Dressing for Success article that I wrote, but there was also one that was about dressing for competition that I think Morgan and the national officers did. It's one of my favorites to read. There was also one about using business partnerships to get internships, things like that. So I think that it shares a lot of good opportunities for DECA members, and being able to share your connections and your friends, all these things that you're writing about DECA and sharing your enthusiasm for it. It also gives you a good chance to hone your writing skills. Like I said, I'm a writer, so I love being able to do that. And I think the biggest thing that DECA Direct has given us this year, as far as the social media correspondent team goes, is being able to connect with other members. Because before I was a social media correspondent, I didn't know people like TJ Lind in Minnesota or Jesse Solis in Michigan. So it's a good chance to be able to meet members that you wouldn't necessarily have met before. And to be able to join the social media correspondent team, you can share your DECA story and join at deca.org/page/social media for more information. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much, Holly, for sharing tonight. Next up, we have Maddie Schiller, our local competitive events expert. And she's going to share a little bit about how you can use social media in business plans in your different competitive events.
All right, well, social media has become a super integral part of marketing a business. So including this in your business plans and your events can really one-up all the marketing part of it. A few things to keep in mind with planning your business social media are the 70-30 engagement rule, the importance of video marketing through social media, and planning to expand your business presence over like a broader range of social media channels. So the 70-30 rule is enough promotion to win sales and entertaining enough to make people forget that that's your main objective. 70% of the output isn't directly about the business itself. Rather, it's about the consumer, what will interest them, what's going on in the world, and then the other 30% is promoting your product, promoting your business. And so with this, it'll keep everyone super engaged in what you're doing, and they'll be way more compelled to pay attention to you. Secondly, the importance of videos. You probably noticed yourselves that if you see a picture along with a giant chunk of text or a video along with a giant chunk of text on Facebook, you're much more compelled to look at it rather than just this giant page of words that you probably don't want to read. So again, this will keep people way more engaged if you put a video or a picture, some sort of media along with the message that you want to sell. Third, expanding over different social media channels. About 58 million Americans use social media every day, but that doesn't mean that they use the same types of social media. So reaching out to different sets of people over Google Plus and Facebook and Twitter, planning that into your marketing plan could make a huge difference. As a whole, just focus on keeping things that will keep your audience engaged, because with this more of the use of social media rather than classic styles of marketing, it will lower your marketing costs for your business plans, and it's just a super awesome way to add to your business plans. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Maddie. Next, we have Jerry Zhang, our Public Relations Officer from DECA, Ontario.
All right, so I think a few of you might have noticed that we've been having a lot of fun with DECA Ontario's social media this year, and we've done a lot of really cool things. So I'll just talk about a few of the sort of principles we've been using. So the first one, I guess, is brand evangelists and taking advantage of the people who are most passionate about the DECA brand and this organization on a whole. So the first thing we did this year was Decamonials, and this was something that was planned out all the way during the summer. So we took out a budget of $260, which isn't a huge amount of money, and we used that towards prize money. So basically what Decamonials was video testimonials that members made for DECA Ontario. So we got 20 submissions that got over 10,000 views and 1,500 likes. So that was pretty awesome. And what was really cool about this campaign was the fact that the members were sharing these videos themselves. So we didn't have to sort of do the promotion ourselves. The members were doing it organically, and that's really how you reach the most number of people effectively. Second, we did a great job with brand ambassadors, and specifically one of the people on our team, Andrew Sean, he did a great job with this campaign. So we basically watched and listened for the people who were most passionate about the brand, who were tweeting about it, Facebook posting about it, things like that, and we got them on board and actively seek their participation during provincials. And speaking of provincials, we just literally had provincials end yesterday, so we had an awesome effort with that. Once again, thanks to Andrew Sean and his team of brand ambassadors. So we got 10,000 tweets over provincials, which is like pretty crazy, and 1,000 new Facebook likes in the last 2 weeks. So those were some pretty awesome numbers to hit. And the reason why we got these 10,000 tweets was, first of all, we had those brand ambassadors actually working at provincials with our little social media booth to get people tweeting. So we had like 10 people just walking around asking people to tweet, tweeting themselves, posting pictures, using the DECA Ontario account. And we had that social media booth, but more importantly, we had a tweet feed. So a live conference feed projected onto the wall where people could see their tweets come up on a live basis. So that was really huge to get our 10,000 tweets. Now, another big thing is community management. So we really wanted this year to improve on our sort of corporate personality. And this was something that, once again, Andrew really helped with. He's been doing a great job with community management, where he's been tweeting with personality. And I think that's really huge, because as individual accounts, we always tweet with personality. We talk about, oh, this was an awesome meal, or I love blackberries, or I hate blackberries, or something like that. Something with personality. And a lot of corporate accounts, what they end up doing is they just sort of tweet out those professional sounding tweets, but that's really not what we are. DECA Ontario, we're really, to be honest, we're not professional at all. We do a lot of unprofessional stuff, so we want to tweet unprofessionally too, because people like that. People like to see who you really are, and that personality sort of comes through the community management. And another big thing about community management is get people to sort of get on board with things they're emotional about. So this year in Ontario, actually, DECA Ontario was almost closed for the year, and we almost basically had to shut down DECA Ontario for a year, and that was because of a really messy political situation in Ontario, where there was a big strike action. So we almost had to close it, and members got really passionate about this, and we capitalized on that through social media by getting them to communicate how they felt, and we were trying to communicate as best as possible to them, to appreciate them as well. Now finally, I guess incentivization is the last thing that we did. So to get those tweets, the 10,000 tweets, we offered an automatic qualification for LDA at ICDC. We gave somebody an automatic spot at ICDC for the most tweets during the conference. So that was huge for our 10,000 tweets. Also, to get more likes and more followers on our social media, we offered a free trip to provincials for each like one person on each channel. So that was Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr. So we did a draw on that. And finally, Decamonials, we offered $100 to the first place person, and everyone in the top 10 got some sort of cash prize, and they all got played at our award ceremonies at provincials. So that's pretty much what we did through social media this year. It's been a lot of fun, and it's definitely been supported in huge part by DECA International, and just really inspiring to see everybody in all of DECA International doing this awesome stuff.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing. It's really cool to see what you guys have been up to and inspiring so many members to share your story and really get involved. Next, Mr. Keegan O'Brien will be our panelist, sharing how he works with Appleton East DECA in Wisconsin to keep members informed and promote DECA to the world.
All right, thanks, Morgan. First off, having some DECA problems. I can't see anyone, but I know you guys can see me, as Morgan said. Thanks for having me on the panel. How we utilize social media through our Appleton East DECA chapter. We have a Facebook page, a Twitter account, and then an Instagram account. And we use a lot of these platforms like most chapters do. We just do it very consistently and very often. On Facebook, we're constantly uploading photos. The key thing I would say for your administrator or one of your members is to make sure to tag members that are in those photos so that they show up within their own personal news feeds and on their friends' news feeds, because if people outside of DECA are being exposed, there's a greater likelihood that they're going to get involved in the organization in the future. Creating events, for example, we do a polar plunge here in Wisconsin where we jump into a lake. Actually, we're doing it this weekend to raise money for the Special Olympics. We created an event on Facebook for that. That's a way for people to see other people going that they might like, and that helped promote our event by doing that, made it go viral. We put just basic announcements on there. We do business partner mentions, and we did a lot of competitive event tips over the summer, and I think that actually helped other chapters within our state. But if we're promoting the brand of DECA and trying to improve DECA overall, I'm perfectly fine with that. We use Twitter for member and follower shoutouts. We do some photos here and there. We do business partner mentions. Mostly we use Twitter for announcements to our members, though. Instagram, obviously we do a lot of pictures. If you've been noticing lately, we've been uploading a lot of our our condescending DECA photos. We like to put a lot of that humor on that. The importance of social media for our chapter, you have to think about our audience. Our target audience is really mostly high school students. Those people that we're hoping will join DECA or get more involved in DECA if they're members, and they're already there. So rather than have a website where they have to go type it in, most kids are just too lazy to do that. So they're already on Facebook, they're already on Twitter. If you can engage them within the platforms they're already utilizing, it just makes more sense. So if it's not something your chapter is doing and it's like on your to-do list, it should be done tomorrow. You're not going to be an expert tomorrow, but the more that you do it, the better you'll become, and it's something that changes all the time anyway. So I would say to take advantage and start using it. We've seen our membership grow a large amount. I would think a lot of it is due to our social media. And the fact that DECA, is an organization that promotes marketing, and if your chapter isn't using it, I mean, that makes me question your marketing tactics. I understand the importance. We do a lot of the traditional promotion and advertising, but social media is free for the most part, so you might as well be using that with your target market. Some strategies for content. Do the national DECA campaigns. If you're doing the promotional campaign, if you're getting involved in Global Entrepreneurship Week, if you are getting involved in Career and Technical Education Month, your chapter should be doing things that you can publicize on your Facebook page or on your Twitter account. And now with National DECA and Janelle doing these Twitter days, that just creates more content to drive your social media platforms and to get involved and interconnect with members from around the globe. Some of my tips, kind of pet peeves, linkage when using other companies' names. You should be doing that to try to give some credit to those people. Having a variety of content, not all videos, not all pictures, also have some text. Whoever is managing your page needs to watch their grammar and their spelling. I understand what Jerry's saying with having personality and not always being professional, but spelling is something that really, I think, sets the tone and is going to determine if somebody's going to want to follow you or like your page, so make sure that that's being done. And then if you have multiple users as administrators on your Facebook page, kind of set some guidelines so you're kind of creating that same brand image. And also on Facebook, I mean, if you've ever seen one of your friends like their own photos, it's kind of like, wow, really? So as a page, make sure that if you like a photo and you're a different admin and somebody else uploaded it, you change at the top to change to whoever you are as an administrator. So, I mean, Appleton East DECA shouldn't be liking Appleton East DECA's own stuff. I mean, obviously, we're promoting it, so we better like it. So those little things maybe I'm just quirky about, but I think other people might be too. And I'll shut up for now. Thanks, Morgan.
Thanks so much, Mr. O'Brien. And you guys can check out Appleton East DECA on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I know I always love following them and getting their updates. Next, we have Victoria Kanya, one of my fellow teammates, and as we like to refer to her as our social media master on the team. She's going to share a little bit with you guys about how she got kind of involved in social media and what she's learned and how she's using it now.
Hi, everyone. So, before I became a Nevada DECA State Officer, I did not have a Facebook account. I did not have Twitter. I didn't even really use social media. I decided I wanted to run for Vice President Publicity, and one of the things that you had to do was run the Nevada DECA Facebook account and Twitter account. So I thought, okay, well, I was never going to do this before, but I guess if I really want to run for state office and this specific position, then I will give social media a shot. And after that, I learned social media all at once from my state officer coach, and then I became an intern at the Western Region Leadership Conference in San Diego in 2011, where I had a really great mentor who is actually going to be speaking tonight, and I'm really excited about that. And the big things that I learned about social media were mainly about how to implement your social media strategy. So once you come up with a plan for what you're going to do, what type of posts you're going to have, it's basically how to implement this strategy throughout your social media networks. So the first question that I came across was, how do I post? And what I learned is that it's best to keep it short and sweet, because if any of you have ever seen on Facebook or on Instagram people who post like these novels on social media, people do not actually have the time to read that. If you have a short and distinct message, people are more likely to read that, and it helps get your message across quicker and more easily. And it's always important to tag people, because if you tag people, they actually get a notification, and that invites them to interact with you, whether it be by liking it, by commenting, by retweeting it. So that's something that all of you should remember to do. And if possible, on Facebook or on Twitter, and clearly on Instagram, because you automatically have to have a photo, it's important to include media, because it takes up more space on Facebook. So on people's Facebook timelines, they're friends with probably hundreds of people. So they just have all of this information going down their timeline. If you want to grab their attention, if you have, let's say, a video or a photo, that takes up more space on their timeline, and that's how you can grab their attention. The next question I had was, when do I post? I used to think that I can just, tweet whenever, I can just Facebook post whenever, and do it spontaneously. But I actually learned that you can actually have a strategy when going about when to post. So the best way to answer that is, what time of day are you usually online when it comes to DECA members? And in the Western region, specifically in Nevada, we're mostly on between 4 o'clock p.m. and 8 o'clock p.m. because that's when we're out of school and we're probably at home doing our homework or just online. And there's actually this site, it's called Tweeriad, and you can use it to see what time of day your Twitter followers are most likely to be on. And when I learned about Facebook and Twitter, for the amount of times that you should post, I learned if you're just starting out and you don't have that much content, the best rule to follow is at least 2 to 3 times a week for Facebook and 4 to 6 times a week for Twitter, since Twitter is a smaller amount of information. And I don't know if any of you have seen it before, but there is this great picture, and it explains social media with a donut. And if you're not sure where you should post whenever you're about to post, this picture, which I will post on the DECA Inc. Facebook page wall. It basically says, if you have a donut and you're posting about this donut, if you were on Twitter, you would write, "I'm eating a hashtag donut." If you were on Facebook, it would be something like, "I like donuts." If it was Foursquare, it would be, "This is where I eat donuts." If it was Instagram, it would be, "Here's a vintage photo of my donut." And if it was on LinkedIn, it would be, "My skills include donut eating." So that's just like a quick way that I learned about how, or actually where to post when it comes to social media. And next up, we have my amazing social media mentor from WRLC in 2011. He was an assistant press secretary to the First Lady. He has worked for Accenture, and right now I believe he's the vice president of something really important. I can't remember, but he's a vice president for a public relations firm. I know that he loves bow ties, and he's just an all-around great person, and I'm so glad that he's on this Hangout. It's Jonathan F. Block.
Well, Victoria, thank you for the kind words. I have to say that I'm grinning from ear to ear here, and actually just turned around and talked to my wife Liz and said, and reminded her of you, Victoria, and said that you are kicking butt and teaching us all how to use social media. So it was fun to listen and learn from you, and to see that you've obviously taken a few of the tips that we learned about together in 2011 in San Diego and really run with them. So props to you. And really props, absolutely, yeah. But really props to everybody. I mean, the tips and the hints that have been shared so far are really right on the money in terms of thinking about posting using written posts, videos, pictures, using a variety of tools like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and so on. Victoria, thinking about the times that you post and ensuring that you're posting when your target audience is online, ensuring that you're spelling correctly, ensuring that you're using and funny language that you're using the 70-30 rule. So I don't have a whole lot to add, but I do want to add one specific thought, and that is around building engagement. And actually, Victoria is really good at this. But I want you to think about a time maybe when your DECA chapter is, or your organization is maybe doing sweepstakes or doing a fundraiser or doing some kind of event where you're asking people specifically to engage with you, to take an action. So that could be giving money to a nonprofit. It could be liking your page, liking a photo, offering a comment. I just want to make this clear that, so as Victoria said, as people scan their timelines, the amount of time that they see a Facebook post is so brief. It's actually less than a second in most cases, unless they stop to look at it. And so we want to write, when we're asking people to like a page or donate, you just want to make that engagement request very simple and clear. And that's my only offer here is so, like, let's say someone to give money to the Red Cross, because write a very direct, simple post that says something like, wouldn't you want help if your house was blown over by a tornado? Click here to give $5. Something that short, that simple, that direct. Or, it could be, if you're asking them if you want to ask them a question, you could say something like, fill in the blank. Victoria Kanya is a blank vice president. And the answer would obviously be awesome or rock star or something like that. But if you give people a very simple and quick and easy way to interact, it ensures that they will interact or take that action that you want them to. So that's what I offer tonight. And I'm open to any questions that you have. Thank you, by the way, for the kind introduction from both of you.
Very cool. Thank you so much for your input. We'll be getting some questions for you at the end. Next up, we have JANELLE SCUDDER, who is DECA's newest communication team member and will be running DECA Inc.'s social media channels. So let's hear what's new from her.
Hi, everyone. So as far as DECA's social media goes, one of the first things I really wanted to do once I got to DECA was kind of start having a structured social media calendar that people could really go to every single day and know what kind of content that they were going to see on all our different platforms. So we developed the DECA Twitter Days, which we launched 3 weeks ago. And so far it's been really wonderful. So we've got Motivational Monday, Tip Tuesday, We Love Wednesday, Throwback Thursday, and Fan Friday. And each day we try to incorporate either our Twitter and our Instagram, or our Facebook and our Twitter, or sometimes all three of them, and I try to use Pinterest as much as I can so that we're really utilizing all of our platforms. The Twitter days have been really great so far. We've seen a huge increase in our Facebook likes. We've seen a huge number of retweets and reposts from our Facebook, which is kind of new for DECA. So far it's been wonderful. I hope people like them. I know I do. Eventually with the Twitter days, I really hope that we can kind of build it so that, for Fan Friday, we're able to tweet out to multiple members, or where we can have really great Throwback Thursday photos from different
Can everybody?
Okay, Janelle, sorry I missed that. It kind of cut out for a second. Can you go back to what you were saying?
Yeah, definitely. Just talking about branding our Twitter days to make sure that even though we're pulling different content from online, we're still getting the DECA brand in there and the DECA name out when we share it.
Very.
So the next thing is unique ways that officers and members can promote their association conferences through social media. So some ideas that we have is, first of all, it's really important to kind of sit down and create a plan when you're thinking about using social media. You want to figure out who's going to be posting, what days you're going to be posting, what times, the content on which platforms, and this really cuts down on any chaos or any mistakes or things like that. So I know at least when I plan out our social media, we just print out a calendar and fill in each day the content that we're going to post and things like that. So something you guys can think about for your conference associations is almost dividing it up hour by hour, and maybe each person takes an hour of the conference and figuring out who's going to tweet about or who's going to post on Facebook what's going on for that hour.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing tonight. We'd like to thank all our panelists for their awesome advice, knowledge, and insight, and I think we all learned a lot more about social media than we did before. But before we wrap up, we have got some questions that have been tweeted to us. So our first one, I think, would be best directed to Mr. O'Brien, and this is from the real AP, Adam Peterson. Do you have any suggestions for getting the name of a first-year chapter out there through social media?
Man, that's a good question. I mean, you just got to start somewhere. Like, for example, when I started my DECA chapter 10 years ago at Appleton East, we brought 6 kids to our state competition. We're bringing 36 this year. I know it's nothing like Clements, DECA, in Texas, but you know, we started somewhere. I can still remember, like 7 years ago, one of my DECA presidents saying, "We got to get on Facebook, Mr. O'Brien. We got to get on Facebook." So I just said, "All right, you start the page, you make it happen." And then when he graduated, he had to teach me how to do it and how to take it over. So it's not going to happen overnight. With anything in DECA, it's going to be trial and tribulation, and you have to be committed. So, you know, this first year, is he going to get his Facebook page to over 400 likes? Probably not. You know, we only have 500 some. It's going to take time. I think by getting involved with, like what Janelle was talking about with these Twitter days, that's an easy way to drive some content. And one thing I hear a lot of people say is that they don't have content to put on their page. You can create content by providing tips and that kind of thing, but if your chapter is not doing a lot of events, if you don't have a lot of pictures or video to post, I mean, that's where you have to take a look at some of the things you need to start, you know, vamping up in your chapter, because that stuff will create content for your page. I think just sticking to it, don't expect results overnight, is basically what I'm trying to say.
Awesome. Our next question is, will there be any exciting ICDC things with social media? And I think Janelle Scudder would probably be the best person to answer that question.
Definitely. So as far as what to expect at ICDC with social media, Chris Young and I have developed this plan to kind of take the social media correspondence to the next level. And we're going to create an ICDC social media team almost. It's going to be an application and selection process, because we want to make sure that the people selected for this team, they really know how to utilize social media, they understand what content is best on which platform, and they know how to drive traffic to all of our DECA channels. So we really want to make sure we're picking people who have, you know, huge Facebook followings, huge Twitter followings, they love posting on Instagram, they love the DECA Pinterest, they're really involved. So I think the coolest thing about this is that once this team is at ICDC, they're going to have assignments that they'll be able to use throughout the whole conference. So some of these will be like one person might be assigned to do a behind the scenes at ICDC. So they'll be able to go backstage with the production team for the opening and closing ceremonies, to do live tweets about that, Instagram, you know, setting up for the closing ceremony, what does that entail, and kind of give everyone at DECA the behind the scenes access tour of what it takes to put on those productions. Something else that'll be cool is having people, you know, around Anaheim interviewing DECA members and advisors, what they've been up to outside the conference center. And we'll also have social media correspondents being able to talk to teams that have had really exceptional competitive event projects, or, you know, a school-based enterprise project that was really unique this year, to give kind of an exclusive interview with those teams and those individuals to share to the rest of DECA. So there will be more news to come about this and how to apply for the process, but we're really excited about it. I think it will be a great opportunity for a lot of DECA members who want to get more involved with social media, and I think it'll bring tons of wonderful new content to all our DECA channels.
Very cool. Well, I know I'm especially excited for that, and I'm sure a lot of members tuning in will be excited to hear that too and want to be a part of that ICDC social media correspondent team. So our last question we have, I think, would be best answered by Jonathan Block, and that question is, how do I use social media to interact with companies? Would LinkedIn be the best method to do that?
Was that directed to me? I'm sorry.
Yep, that's directed
at you. Okay, cool. The best way I think to interact with companies is on Twitter. I think most companies are extremely responsive now to Twitter. In fact, recently I left a bank that I had been with for a number of years and joined a new bank. And I tweeted that. I said, you know, I'm leaving one bank after many years and I'm joining another, and I tagged both of them. And the bank tweeted back to me and said, well, breakups are hard, but we're happy to be your rebound. And it's a really funny, very inventive bank that has an active social media presence, as you can imagine. So Twitter's a great way to do it. If you want to reach companies with your kind of your biography or your resume and your job hunting, LinkedIn is absolutely the best way to do that. So Twitter is sort of best to reach them with quick complaints or quick comments about customer service. LinkedIn is the best way to reach them if you're looking for a job. And to that end, make sure that your LinkedIn profile is up to date, that you have everything spelled correctly, have a parent or an adult figure that you look up to take a look at it, or a friend, to make sure everything's spelled correctly. If you can, have people endorse you and give you written recommendations for specific actions or jobs that you've had. Ask them to be as specific as possible. Generic recommendations are very easy to see through on LinkedIn. And that's it's a phenomenal way to reach companies if you're looking for a job.
Very good. All right, we have one last question, and I think maybe each of our panelists can take a little stab at this if they would like. And that question is, what is the single best piece of social media advice you could give a DECA member? And we are open to whoever would like to answer that first.
I can go, Morgan.
Great.
I would say something that we're trying to push more at DECA is utilizing our Pinterest page. So I don't think a lot of DECA members know how much stuff we have on our Pinterest. Morgan did an amazing job setting it up. So when I got there, I was so excited. And Chris and I have been working on just building it more. So some of the new features you can find on there is a sports marketing board, fashion marketing board, hospitality board we've started. So if you need ideas or resources, the Pinterest, DECA Pinterest board is a great place to go. We've also got a lot of college, resume, job interview tips and ideas there. So I think if you have never checked out DECA's Pinterest, to definitely head over there and see how you can use it maybe in your school, in your chapter, or in your own life, because it's really actually cool.
Great, thanks. Would anyone else like to share tonight?
Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah, okay.
Sorry, Jerry.
You're next.
One of the things that we're trying to push in Texas DECA, especially just kind of doing professionalism by example, is to keep all of the social media that we post as officers and like monitoring other members as classy as possible and as professional as possible, because I think one of the problems that teenagers face is that the cleanest way to put this is inappropriate things are always on our timeline and on our Facebook, and we're seeing them. But if you're liking them or sharing them on your personal page, all of your friends are exposed to those too and thinking about those things that you like and you post. So we're trying to encourage people to be as professional as possible on their own page, so it reflects well on them for not only their friends but their possible future employers and possibly anyone who else looks at their page. So that's one of the things we try to push in Texas DECA especially.
Awesome. All right, Jerry, you're next.
Yep. So I think something that we've been doing at DECA Ontario in general is I guess we've been trying to go under the philosophy that sort of Facebook themselves they go under, and that's to fail harder. So we don't like to show an image that we are perfect, there's nothing wrong with us, we're creating a facade where we are completely, there's nothing wrong with us. And that sort of goes, it sort of goes to show that when you show vulnerability and when you show that you're not perfect, people start relating to you better. So I've done a lot of stupid things through our Facebook page, Twitter page, Tumblr page, all that stuff, and things that have either not worked out or have been just even harmful to DECA Ontario in general. But if you're willing to try things and take risks with your social media and sometimes fail and fail really hard sometimes, then that's when you start to see, wow, we can have really big successes now. So Decamonials, actually this was our marquee campaign throughout the year, and despite this, Decamonials, it was launched in August. It didn't have a single submission until mid-December. So we were starting to say, oh, this is a failure, but we started to do a big push for Decamonials during winter break. So once we did that big push, that's when we started getting the submissions, and that's how we got the 10,000 views at the end of the day. So I guess just fail harder, and don't be mad at your other officers if they do something that's wrong, because what they're doing wrong was probably a cool risk that they were willing to take in order for the organization to succeed in general.
Very cool. There is kind of like a quote that people had from Mark Zuckerberg, and so he would always change things on Facebook, and people would get really, really upset about it. But then they change it back, but not completely. So every time they moved forward, and they moved too far forward, but when they moved back, they didn't move back far enough. So they're always making progress. So that kind of reminded me of that. Yeah. So that was our last question for tonight. We just have a couple announcements before we close. Our first thing is we'd like you to remember to share the DECA love tomorrow, because it's Valentine's Day, and we have some awesome cover photos on the DECA Facebook page that we would love you to share. You can post them up and post them on your friends wall and your DECA buddies and share the DECA love. The next thing we want you to do is we want you to make sure that you vote for your favorite ICDC t-shirt. What t-shirt do you want to wear while you're in California? Make sure you go like the ICDC t-shirt design album on the DECA Inc. Facebook page and decide what you want to wear there. The next thing is, you may or may not know this, but February is Career and Technical Education Month, which is probably the best month ever. And what we want you to do is we want you to tell your friends, your family, your community, your legislators, your mayor, anyone you see about DECA and why it's so awesome, what impact it's had for you. And when you do that, we want you to complete the advocacy campaign for your chapter, and you can get some really awesome benefits from that. And you can get that and fill it out, complete that at deca.org/page/campaigns. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight, and if you want to have a say on the topic of our next Google Hangout, you can go to the DECA Inc. Facebook page. In a few days, we'll be posting a poll of what kind of topic we want to have for the next one, so make sure you're following DECA on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google+, and as Janelle said, Pinterest. Thanks so much for tuning in, and have a good night. Thank you.